Okay, my last video ran about 5 minutes and 40 seconds, but a ghost interrupted it or something, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to get back on the thread that I was on, the thought train. I tried to hop back on the rail. Um, but where I was going with the talk show thing, and honestly, before I say anything more, um, I did not mean to uh, when I first made these videos, I intended them to be mainly explaining the reason why I believe in God. Well, once again, why I introduced myself with the theory that God exists. But come to think of it, I think a better structure would be several videos on that subject, kind of elaborating everything around what we know to be God, meaning faith, the idea of faith, you know, my personal faith, things like this, so that in the beginning I had honestly thought that I could make a 10-minute video explaining why I think God exists, but obviously that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to make a couple videos, but I will try to make them all in parts. I'm sorry about that interruption, by the way. And I didn't redo the video because I honestly don't feel like it, and I don't think I have time. Um, but anyway, where I was going with the talk show bit was that I had heard recently on a talk show that no, I'm a nerd. I listen to talk shows at work. I work security, but nothing else to do. But I listened to this talk show, and they were talking. The scholar who he was a biblical scholar. He came from some university in North Carolina, but he was talking about how the Greek word for faith, or the Greek word for faith and trust, is the same Greek word. So the way that you would say faith or trust would be the same word in Greek. And I thought that was really interesting how he pointed that out. And that's where I was going with that. Um, the thing is, since I hopped on the subject of faith itself, and it does relate to the idea of God, obviously, um, the point I am trying to make is that at a certain level, each one of us has faith in something. Um, we can have faith in anything that we have our heart in. And I like to use kind of old school analogies, I guess you could say, like the word heart to describe someone's inner substance or their character. I tend to use old fashioned kind of language like that. Please forgive me if it's a little misleading. But basically, now that I'm on the subject of faith, the reason I believe that faith is important, because faith obviously is essential when you're talking about a theory that God exists. Faith is the substance of the theory. So the reason that faith is important is because faith allows you to have vision. Sight and vision are two different things. I gave an example once that, say a man walks into a field. Say he walks into an empty lot that he had just purchased, that he just bought for so many $1,000 or something. He walks into this lot and there's an empty meadow in front of his eyes. And this man's dream was to always, his dream was always to have a family, be a father, and build a house, a living space for himself and his family on a property that they own, preferably. So say he gets this property and he's out on the property his physical sight, his eyes, his physical eyeballs, see an empty lot. Maybe some grass and some shrub, maybe a little creek down the way, some trees, just an empty lot, empty land. That's what his eyes see. But his faith, his heart, again, has the ability to see beyond that. You could almost say it's kind of like, you could almost get away with saying this. It's kind of like seeing the future. Seeing the desired future. Seeing a desired outcome, a vision. You could use the same sense on many examples, but with this man in the field, he sees a house. His vision, his faith, his heart sees a house that he has built, that he has worked on, maybe he and some helpers have built, and that he sees himself sitting in his rocking chair, smoking his pipe, reading a book, spending time with his wife by a fireplace. Who knows? That's his vision. That's faith. But if that man were to say that and speak about those things, fireplace, stove, inner workings of a house, if he were to talk about how nice the rug is and everything, to the guy next to him who doesn't share his vision, for example, if he were to say these things and start talking about it as if it actually existed in front of both of their eyes, the man next to him would probably think he was crazy or ambitious. So that's why faith is important. Essential. Beyond important, I believe. Which is kind of funny because you have to have faith. Never mind. Faith is important. Whatever form that faith comes, let me also kind of, speaking with my hands a lot, as you probably noticed, let me kind of broaden it, because I don't want to seem narrow-minded. I don't want people who are watching this to think that I'm merely talking about the Christian tradition or the Judeo-Christian tradition or any kind of boxed in, kind of laid out version of God. I'm talking about faith in general in these couple videos. Maybe later I'll get into other things. But faith in general. Faith in hope, faith in love, faith in a loved one. These things are essential to anyone's life, religious, spiritual, or otherwise. They're essential to life, period. To have faith, I believe, is like the heart of the heart. It's the life force behind the life force, deeper than it. It allows people who are in misery in this life, who are in anguish, who have suffered loss, it allows them to see beyond that limitation, to have vision beyond it. People who are confronted with failure, things like this. It allows them to see beyond it and to move beyond it. Because you can only move when you can see. You can only move when you have vision. That's why I think it's important. And I gotta watch my time. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes-ish. So, I guess I'll have to make another part.